Wyatt White, and he's going to show us how to make some wire rings. Wyatt, you have great ideas for wire wrapping.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know where they come from. They just come. So
that's right.
Let's get after this. Buttons. Everybody has buttons, and buttons can actually become really beautiful pieces of jewelry. I've chosen this button today and some nice wire.
Gauge?
It's actually 18 gauge.
All right.
And I'm just going to straighten it using our wire straightener. And then I like to cut a little extra wire so that I have a little bit more to work with. I don't want to make it messy, but I also don't want it to run out of wire.
Okay.
All you do is run the wire through the button shank.
All right.
And then use a ring mandrel. And we're going to make this about a size 6.5. And you're going to wrap the wires around in opposite directions and then back up, making sure that they stay on, this one stays on this side and this one stays on this side. So now you can kind of guess what we're going to do. We're just going to twist this wire and then twist this wire. And in about 20 seconds, you have a ring.
That is super fast.
So now what you've got is you've just got the wrapped wire underneath, and that's kind of just held together onto the shank of the ring. You just snip these off, and you have your ring.
Well, that was easy. This is a great way to use vintage buttons too.
Right,
or any type of button.
It's a great way to use buttons. Now also, another one of the things that I've created just recently is something called a findings form. It allows you to make earring findings in a little bit different shapes than you normally find. I really like to use 22 gauge silver filled wire. And what that means is that it's actually got 10% of the outside is actually silver on the whole thing. Now you can straighten this wire if you'd like. I usually don't because I'm going to be pulling along it. So you have a hole in the findings form. You're going to stick a piece of the wire through and push that down so you have something to pull from. Then I'm going to go around this bottom ring and I turn the findings form and I'm going to go up and over this little peg and then here. Now it also comes with a little pusher tube that's going to push this down flat onto the surface.
Okay.
That keeps everything nice and tidy. Then you're just going to pull, run your thumbnail up there and come back around here and right there.
And you use silver wire, silver filled wire for the earrings because a lot of times people wouldn't want to use a copper type of wire in their ear.
Right, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of allergies, and silver filled just kind of gets you out of all of that problematic stuff. But a lot of people have no problem at all. Then you just pull this off, make your tidy little cut here, and you've got your other matching ear wire.
All right.
A couple of little things. Now, to make your the little holder, use a little piece of the wire that's you would normally have thrown away. Use the pliers like this and just bend this down and make them come apart like that. So then I'm going to stick this down into the hole. First one end, then the other.
Oh, both are going through.
Both go through. And you just pull this down to about there.
Okay.
And you're going to pull one up on one side and one up on the other side. And then pull it across and then make this one come back across and make two little snips. A snip here and a snip here.
All right.
Then we just open up this little thing and you have a matching pair of earrings to go with your button ring, or not matching if you don't want to.
Right. Now, would you normally go ahead and hammer or do something to work hard in your ear wire? Or do you just leave it as is?
We don't really have to because the silver filled wire is half hard already. So it's got a good temper on it. Some people do like to hammer it, and you certainly could do that.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. I would also then take a little wire rounder or something and knock the edge off of the
part that goes
through the ear.
That
right.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at some of your finished rings. And you know what? I feel like we have enough time. You could show us to make another one.
Sure, we could certainly do that. Should we go to that, or do you want to talk about these first?
Let's talk about these right here. These are gorgeous.
Yeah, I've been, since I started doing these button things, I've started looking in some of the different bead shops and places that I go, and there's so many really interesting buttons. You can do some really fun things. This is an Italian button that actually is gold plated, and I used some fancy pattern wire on it.
That's really pretty.
So it's fun. This has some rose gold color wire on with a, this is just a plastic button. And some of these are a little bit more intense. These are some vintage button from the Czech Republic.
And then you chose some gunmetal colored
Right.
wire to kind of play off the highlights for that one.
And then all the way over there on the far right side,
This one?
it's almost like an engagement ring, but that's actually a little button from the Czech Republic
Oh,
as
how
well.
pretty.
So there's really not much of an end to what you can do with this stuff.
That's right. You get a lot of different looks.
You
And
do.
on this one, you coiled it on the sides.
Right, just to do something a little bit different. If you don't want to always have your wire all wound up there, you can wind it up and hold it, and that's still got the price tag on it.
Well, then you can keep track of what your buttons
There
cost,
you
right?
go. This one I had the wraps up around the shank, and then just came down and wrapped it a little bit. You can also change the size that way.
Oh,
if
okay.
it happens to be a little bit too large for whoever you've made it for, wrapping that around will also change the
Oh,
size
so how
for
do you
you.
do that?
Well, you just take one of the wires. This one I'm going to straighten because it comes off the spool a little bit wonky. So we're just going to roll this over and pull it through. And it gives a nice little finish. It's got a little hook on the end I'm going to get rid of. So we're going to do that. And which button? How about that one?
That's a good one.
It's a good one? All right. So we're going to put this, again, it's the simplest thing to start. Then you just flip this over onto we're going to make this one a little bit smaller. And then just go around twice, keeping side to side. And start
You're winding.
you're attaching. And you can feel when it starts to firm up, and then you don't have to wrap anymore. So it's nice and firm. Now, what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to cut these off a little bit because I don't need all that wire to try to bend back
Right.
through there. It's much easier if you've got a shorter piece of wire. And the less sewing that you try to do, the better it is, because wire doesn't like to be sewn. It likes to be bent. So you just kind of bend that and move it up, and then just let it come around just like so. So I'm not trying to sew it, I'm trying to just wrap it right down there.
Yeah.
So we're going to take 3 little wraps and then go over here and do the same thing.
Great.
And then hook that through and do that same thing right there.
So you could leave out this coiling part if you wanted to, but I think it does
absolutely.
add a nice decorative touch.
Yeah, it definitely does. And notice that I'm using my fingers to wrap this. With some of the colored wires, you want to make absolutely certain you don't make any plier marks on it.
Right.
And it's so easy to do because you're holding on as tight as you can. So, but then all you have to do is clip those and you are ready to go.
Perfect. These are some great tips. Thanks so much, Wyatt.
You're welcome.